Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kuli English Podcast. It's me, your host, Chris. So, I'm not sure if you've really noticed, but my voice is a bit lower than it normally is, and that's just because I'm recording this podcast in the morning. Normally, I record podcast episodes in the afternoon or in the evening, and that's when my voice is more normal. But, I guess today it's just a little bit early, and I don't know why. I really don't know why. There's probably some scientific explanation for it, but my voice is just always kind of low in the morning. Anyways, I think in the last two episodes, we talked a bunch about like English language tips. I talked about how to tell stories and make your stories easier to understand. And we talked about like checkpointing and stuff like that. Actually, so for this episode, what I want to do is I want to kind of go away from that. And I'm not going to be teaching you English, but I'm just going to be telling you stories because that's something that I like to do. And also this podcast is meant to provide like English listening practice. So it's not that like it's a lesson. It's not like I'm going to teach you English. It's just I just talk and then you can get some practice listening. You can also listen to some of the tips on the tips episode if you want. But so today what I want to talk about is I want to talk about the penguin story. So a lot of people who knew me from college, there was this thing that I did my senior year where basically I dressed up as a penguin and I ran for, it's not president, but I basically ran for a government position. And I'm going to be telling you about that, and let's get started with that, but after a short little music break. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So before I get started with the story, I feel like I need to explain a couple different words and ideas. And number one is just like something called student council or student government. And you can kind of guess what this means. It's like there's like a government and it's just run by students. And it's actually a different word, like depending on where you go. Like at my college at UC Berkeley, it was called ASUC. It wasn't actually called student council. But student council, I think that's it's a more general word that'll probably be useful, even if you go to like some other places. Like if you say student council, people probably know what you mean. So what is student council? Student council is kind of like well, if you've seen Star Wars, there's something called like the Jedi Council. And then there's a bunch of like really strong people or like, I don't know if they're people, but like they're called Jedis. And then like there's like the circle of Jedis that they're like the leader Jedis. They're like the best, the smartest Jedis. And that's called the Jedi Council. So the council is just like a group of representatives. And for a student council, you have to vote. You have to vote for the students and then say like, oh, okay, so we're going to send like this person and they will represent this class. And then you gather all the different representatives and then you have the student council. And what does the student council do? Well, I mean, another good question is what does the government do? But the student council, most of the time, I think the student council actually doesn't really do that much because like, governments, they like pass laws and stuff. But students do not control much stuff in the school. Like they are like at the bottom of the ladder. They're not the teacher. They're not even like staff. They're just students that go to school probably for free. So like the student council usually doesn't actually do that much. And this might make people mad. I'm sure there are some people out there that were like part of student council and they know more than me about this. And they'll say, oh yeah, no, student council, we do a lot of stuff. But, this is my podcast. I can kind of say whatever I want. And I actually did look up what the student council at Berkeley did. And that's just like in preparation for this podcast. And I found like some stuff on Reddit and I found some stuff online. And this is going to sound really mean, but I think the truth is just the student council at Berkeley didn't do anything. And this is also like my opinion, right? So like apparently they did do some stuff where they go and represent students at some other place. And they said like, oh, we as the students don't want the prices to go up. But like the student council doesn't control that. That's like controlled by like whoever decides the pricing of stuff. But the students can say like, oh, hi, I don't want it to go up. Like, if you want to consider the student's point of view, we don't want it to go up. So it's kind of like that, but I don't know. Anyways, so again, at Berkeley, it was called something else. It was called the ASUC. And then you can also just use the word student council for anything. So probably starting from like middle school. So probably from like around sixth grade, and definitely in high school, there's something called like a student council usually. And then so I say all this student council stuff, but actually in my mind, I'm thinking of like the actual word, the ASUC, which you don't need to know, and because that's like the real story. But so anyways, let's go ahead and start with this real penguin story. So in college, probably, yeah, this is my senior year. So senior year is like my fourth year, right? So the 4 years in college, in undergrad, you can call it freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And so senior is my fourth year. And when you run for student council, like you basically want to get elected. You want people to vote for you. And then if you actually get elected, if you win, then you join the student council like the next semester or the next year. But for me, I was a senior, and it's my second year. Sorry, it's my it's my second semester. So semester is like half of the year. So it's like my last half of college, my last half of senior year, my last half of college, and then so even if I win, like I definitely cannot actually go to student council because I'm just going to graduate and I'm not going to actually be there. But then I decided to run for this position, like kind of like as a joke, kind of like as a parody, because I guess me and all my friends and probably everyone that I knew at Berkeley, yeah, not everybody, but most people, like I think most people generally thought, oh, the student council doesn't do anything. So then I was like, okay, so I'm going to run, but I'm going to run as like a complete joke. And, like if I were to run seriously, then I should show like my face. I should tell people like, oh, I'm going to do these things and try to get people to vote for me. But then what I did was I was like, okay, I'm just going to go on a ridiculous platform. So like my image was just a penguin. So I bought like a penguin costume. I don't know why I picked penguin. I really don't remember. Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff where I did some pranks and I don't remember why I did it. But at the time I had some reason. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a penguin. So then I went to Amazon and I bought like some penguin costume. And it was actually a little bit too big for me because I'm like a small Asian person. In the US, I'm like a small Asian person. And then in Japan, I'm like a above average size Asian person. But I got this penguin costume. And then, like I put the thing and I have like a beak and stuff. And I'm like a penguin. And then I always tried to ride my scooter when I was campaigning. So campaigning meaning like I'm going around and giving advertisements to people to tell people to vote for me. And then so I would ride my scooter. And then I don't know if you've heard the previous podcast episodes, but I really like scooters. And something I'm really good at is I can ride the scooter with one hand. So with the scooter, you're supposed to use two hands, but then, I'm really skilled because I've rode a bunch of scooters in my life. So I can ride the scooter and like steer and like turn left and right with one hand. And then my other hand, which is free, what I do is I hold a megaphone. So what is a megaphone? A megaphone is something where like if you speak into it, it like projects the volume really, really loudly. So like this is a microphone and it just records. But like imagine if I speak into this and then like it plays everything at like 3 times the volume. That's a megaphone. So it's like this cone. And then I would speak into the megaphone and like basically yell at people. Well, it's supposed to be like campaigning, so it's like half campaigning, like telling them to vote for me, and half of the time I just like purposely say like crazy things because that's like my character that I was. So I feel like it's so hard to explain this because this is like not like a normal thing to do. This is just me being like I don't like stupid or crazy in college. So there's this area called Sproul Hall, and well, I guess just called Sproul. And you don't have to know what it is, but there's like this big open area in the middle of Berkeley. And that's where like a lot of students walk through. And when they walk through, that's like the perfect chance to give them advertisements. So like at Berkeley, everybody knows that area is where a bunch of people give advertisements. There are like clubs or something. And then the clubs are usually like, oh, like please come watch my performance, or like, oh, please join our club. And sometimes you have people that aren't from Berkeley, like, I don't know, like even crazy people, and they're like begging for money or something like that. But it's usually the place where if you're going to walk through there, you might get like advertisements. Honestly, it's kind of like Japan's kabukicho, like people like give you advertisements and you don't really want it. So what you have to do is you just kind of look away. You look away, you don't make eye contact, you don't take their flyer. And then if they ask you something, you just like don't respond, or you say, no, I'm sorry. So then I went there, but I'm like on my scooter and I'm like a penguin with a megaphone, and then I would just like yell at people. I would just yell at people and say a bunch of stuff, usually related to the campaign. Like I tell them, oh, like you guys need to vote for me. If you don't vote for me, like a lot of bad stuff's gonna happen. But if you vote for me, a lot of good stuff's gonna happen. And I said it kind of exactly like that, which is probably something that like a politician should not actually say, because it's too generic. But I'm like doing everything I can to like be a good parody, I guess. So I think people would walk by and I would yell at them and say, you need to vote for me. Can you vote for me? And then then they like look back and, again, the instinct is when you're walking through that area, like people give you a lot of advertisements. So you usually kind of like look down and you look away. But if someone is in like a giant penguin costume and they're riding a scooter and they have a megaphone, like this is a very crazy character. So like, I think a lot of people, like when I yell at them, like at first they like look away and then they see me and they're like, oh, that's just funny. Like that's a really funny character. So then they kind of start to smile and then usually they respond. So I'll say like, hey, are you going to vote for me? And they'll say, yeah, sure. Or they'll say like, no, I'm not voting for you. Like they'll actually kind of talk. And then like I like talk and I just make up some stuff. But what I really like to do is I don't know what you call it. Like there's not really a term for it. I just have to describe it. But I call it like improv, like lying interviews. So people would like walk by and then I would ask them, I would say like, oh, hey, like, what do you want to change about this campus? And then they usually don't really have a good answer. They're just like, I don't know. Like, I don't really care. And then I ask like, oh, do you have straight A's? And then they'll say like, no, because it's kind of hard to get straight A's in college. And then I tell them, oh, if you vote for me, you'll get straight A's. And then again, this is a promise that like everybody knows that like it's like you can't do it because like the grades that you get, it's based on how well you do in the class. You can't just vote for some penguin, and if the penguin becomes president, then he makes you have straight A's. Like that's impossible. But I like making these kinds of like lying promises because that's like my character. And it's not only that, but sometimes you see like people eating stuff along the way, and like there's this sandwich shop called Subway, and it's probably pretty famous internationally. But at Subway, you can get like the sandwich, and then people would walk through, and then they like walk and they eat at the same time. And then I see them walking and eating, and remember, my job is to like say a lot of crazy stuff. So when I see them, I kind of yell at them and I say, "Hey, you eating that sandwich? Yeah, you!" And like I target them. And then, I'm a menace. Okay, I'm like causing like problems all over the place, but they would like look back and I'd say like, hey, that sandwich, it actually has like a lot of fat and it's not good for you. And then like it's kind of true. That's actually kind of true. The Subway sandwich is actually not very healthy for you. But then I wait for them to react, and whatever they say, I say, but don't worry, if you vote for me, you will become really, really skinny and you're going to become really sexy. You just have to vote for me, okay? If I become the president, I'm going to make everything good and you're going to become really attractive. And then like, again, this is a very obviously fake promise. Like I can't control if somebody turns into a really attractive person. Like I can't really change their looks at all. But I say this because like my character is like a politician that promises everything. And then there was a crazy guy, an actual crazy guy that came and argued with me. But actually, let's talk about that after the short little music break. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. And I can feel my voice coming back to normal because it's not so early anymore. But actually, before I talk about the crazy guy, I got to give like a little bit of background about Berkeley. So at Berkeley, at my college, there are like a couple famous crazy people, and like I say crazy people, and they actually are like kind of crazy. Like they're like homeless people that everybody knows because they are always in the same spot and they usually say the same thing. And there's kind of two famous crazy guys for me. And again, I went to college around like 2013 to 2017 or so. So it's possible that like before that time, like those homeless people weren't there, or like afterwards they moved. But there's two guys, and one guy is called the Hell Yeah guy. And the Hell Yeah guy, like he was always on the south side. So like if you look at the map of Berkeley, like if you kind of highlight just the bottom side, you call that the south side. So he was on the south side, and he is a homeless guy. He's like a really, really fat homeless guy. And people know him as the Hell Yeah guy because I think every minute or so, like for it doesn't matter, no matter what happens, like if he's tired, if other people are tired, he just says hell yeah, and he says that like really really loud, and everybody can hear it. And by the way, for the people who actually know like Berkeley, it's next to like Walgreens, it's next to Chipotle, it's next to like that area of Southside, and so people know Hell Yeah Guy, and Hell Yeah Guy is kind of like he's like not that bad of a hobo because he just says like hell yeah, and then that's it. Like it doesn't actually damage anybody. He's just saying like hell yeah. He's not like attacking anybody. He's not stealing stuff. And people have different stories where they're like, oh, like I tried to give Hell Yeah Guy like some pizza and then he got mad and he threw it on the ground, or there's stuff like that. But I never really had any interactions with Hell Yeah Guy. I just hear him say Hell Yeah, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know if he's still there. I kind of hope he is because it's like part of the Berkeley culture. Um, and then there's the second crazy guy, who actually I had a bunch of interaction with. But the second crazy guy, I don't. I wish I like asked him for his name or something, but I never really talked with him as like a normal human being. But he would hang out in that Sproul area, and he's like a homeless guy, but he's kind of young and he's got a bunch of like facial hair. And then he always yells at people and he calls people Nazis. He's like, "You're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. You caused like World War II." And then he'll just say like random stuff like that. And he's actually kind of rude because he'll like actually like verbally attack people. So he'll say like you, like you're stupid or something like that. But he's also just kind of a crazy guy and he says a lot of weird things. But again, now let me repeat a certain part of that. I said that he's in like the Sproul area. So the Sproul area is the public area where people go and like give flyers to things, and that's also where Penguin Chris, people called it Chris Jenguin, but Penguin Chris would go and like I would campaign there, right? I would try to get people to vote for me, and then one day, and I think I went like once every like 1 or 2 weeks, and then I went there and then I was like, doing my thing. And he's not campaigning. He's not running for anything because he's not a student. He's like an old guy. But I don't know what he's doing. He's just like in that area. And then eventually like we collided. So like I'm riding like my scooter in a circle all the time, like yelling at people. And he's like got his area, like yelling at people. He's like, "You're a Nazi. He's a Nazi," something like that. And then he came to like talk to me. And I don't know why, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll talk with the crazy guy. So then so then I think he like would say a bunch of random stuff to me, and then I say a bunch of random stuff back. And like I remember thinking like at the time I was thinking, okay, so when you talk to somebody, especially like students, and it's kind of like I'm like a penguin parody character, right? So I'll ask them, I have to like have some kind of interaction and it has to make sense. So I'll ask them like, "Oh, do you like that sandwich?" And then if they say yes or no, then I say something like, "Oh, but you're going to get fat." Or if they say no, and I'm like, "Oh, well then you're wasting money on that and you want me to make you money," or something like that. Like it's a reaction based thing. But the crazy guy, I think the stuff that he said was just so crazy that I couldn't really react. So then the way that I handle that is when he says crazy stuff to me, I just say some other crazy stuff to him. And it's like we're both just like attacking each other and nobody's like listening to the other person. So the crazy guy, I think he said something like, oh yeah, I remember. He said something like birds like you get killed by airplanes every day. Is what he said. Because like, I'm a penguin. But the truth is penguins can't fly. So like, I mean, he's just saying lies. But I mean, I don't know if he meant it as a joke, but he's kind of a crazy guy. So he said that. And then I like, I mean, I didn't really understand what he was saying that much. So I just said, "Oh, but like actually airplanes aren't even real." And then I start like this monologue and I make sure to talk a lot because the person who talks a lot wins the crazy fight. So then I said like, "Oh, like airplanes actually aren't even real. They're like a figment of your imagination. You are imagining it. And it's a trick by the government because the government's here to trick you. But I'm here to free you. So if you vote for me, you'll be able to see the truth. You'll be able to see airplanes for what they are, which are fake. Have you ever ridden an airplane?" And then I ask some random other person. And because people are like watching, right? They're watching two crazy people argue against each other. Like one is an actual crazy guy and then one is me, who's like, I've got my character. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, like, have you ever seen an airplane? Have you ever seen an airplane?" And then like people give all sorts of different answers. Like some people, I think they see the fight, they see the argument, and they're like, "Oh, I wanna help the penguin out." So then they like lie and they say like, "No, airplanes are fake." And then I'm like, see, yeah, exactly. And then how about you? Have you seen an airplane? I try to bring in other people and it becomes like an interactive, I don't know, crazy person fight. I don't even know how to describe it. But so then, and then like some other people would say like, actually, yeah, I have ridden an airplane. And then, so that, that doesn't help my argument. It helps the other guy. Because then, airplanes end up being real and I'm going to be a liar. So, but then, I just turn it around. I say some lie that's like, oh, so actually that's exactly what the government wants you to think. And then like, and then like turn into like, oh, but don't worry, you can be free too. You just have to vote for me. Just make me the president and I'll make sure you see everything as the truth. But you are a good person. Like I compliment that all the people that get involved that are not crazy people, like I make sure that they're not like attacked too much. But yeah, I think that was my interaction with the crazy guy. And then I realized actually the crazy guy, he is a crazy guy, and people don't like him and stuff because he's rude. But he's actually really skilled at like yelling. Like his voice is naturally so talented at talking so loudly. And for me, I started doing this podcast stuff, so now my voice is a little bit stronger than it was before. But like in college, my voice was just like a normal person's voice, and I have to use the megaphone, like the megaphone that makes it really loud. And something that I noticed was I use the megaphone and I say stuff, and then the crazy guy, like when he talks, he doesn't need a megaphone, and his words, like whatever he says, it just sounds like naturally really loud. And I was thinking, and then I have to like, put a bit more energy. And I set the microphone to like the megaphone. I set it to the max volume. But even then, like the volume doesn't really compare because that guy's just like, he's a natural. He's been doing this for like 20 years. He's been sitting around here talking to people for 20 years. And I've been doing this for like, I don't know, like 2 weeks or something. And then I remember after I argued with the crazy guy, like it was pretty fun. Like I like arguing with crazy people, maybe. And then like, some other people get drawn in and it's kind of like a comedy event. But then because I talk so much, like then for the next couple days, like my voice is just dead. And yeah, that kind of did affect some other stuff. But actually, let's take a short little break here and then we'll come back and I'll tell you about some side effects of that. All right, so let's go and continue. And wow, I think my voice is actually back to my normal voice. It's probably like at least 90% of the way back. Anyways, so let's talk about some like random side effects of what I did. So there's like maybe 2 or 3 main things that I want to talk about for that. But something again, so this is like kind of like another parody element thing, or like this is another part of the joke, but. People who run for the student council, they usually have a bunch of their friends on Facebook change their profile picture to usually like people's profile pictures are pictures of themselves. But then if you're running, then what you do is you tell your friends, hey, can you change your profile picture to me, to like the person that's running, and say vote for Chris or something like that. And so then I did the same thing, but instead what I did was like I went and like I have my penguin costume, right? So I have to be a penguin. That's very important. And then what I did was I took like, I think like, I don't know, like 20 or 30 different pictures of me as a penguin. And each picture I'm holding something different. And then, so each of those things, like for example, I'm holding a scooter, or like I'm holding like a deck of cards, or I'm holding like a math textbook. And then I would ask different friends to change their picture to like a different thing. So each friend has like a picture that's like me that says like vote for Club Penguin Chris. But then like what I'm holding always is something different. And that's just so that like in the captions, we can put something that's like a promise from the penguin president that like I will do this. So for example, like the math textbook, what I say is I promise that all people who take any math class in Berkeley will get an A. There will be no such thing as a B or a C. Like everyone gets 100% guaranteed. And that's there. But then that's just like for one person's profile picture. And then for another person, I had a friend who was like teaching like a magic class. So like magic where you like do tricks and stuff like that. And so I hold like a deck of cards and I say like, okay, so if you vote for me, then magic will become like a mandatory class for all students. And anyone who can't do magic will get like kicked out of the university or some kind of crazy thing like that. And I just had this like character where I have to be crazy, right? And I have like the scooter thing, and the scooter's like I will make sure that scooters will require like a license and to apply for the like just like crazy ideas like that. And then so like there was that, and there was some of that, and then like I think it was actually pretty fun because I like asking friends like, hey, can you like change your profile picture for me? And realistically, if I were actually running, then it's kind of maybe a little bit annoying for them because then they're like, okay, I have to change my profile picture. I have to say I support this person. But then with my penguin profile picture, with like these custom little pictures and these custom lines, it's like you very much get like the fun of the character. So if you ask someone, oh, can you change your profile picture just for 1 week? And I'll write you a custom line with some like weird promises. And then it's I thought it was pretty fun. But actually, yeah, so there were some other side effects that weren't so good. So I think I talked a little bit before about how my voice was like kind of like it was kind of dead for a couple days. Because if I go campaigning for like, I don't know, 2 hours or something. And I just keep talking for 2 hours, but into a megaphone and like yelling at people. And it's kind of tiring. So and then the next day, like my voice would be kind of dead. And I think at the time I was teaching an algorithms class called CS 170. You don't have to know what that is, but I was like teaching some stuff. And then like I would teach other students. So I was a senior, and then a lot of the students are probably like sophomores or juniors. So like I'm a senior 4th year, and then sophomores like 2nd year, juniors 3rd year. And then so I would like teach normally, but then if I teach after I had like a penguin campaign, then my voice would sound really bad. So I'd say like, hey, today we're gonna talk about Dexter's algorithm, something like that. And it was a little bit sad. But another thing that I noticed was like while I was campaigning, I'm like dressed as a penguin, right? And it's like it's not really Chris. It's like kind of hard to know that it's Chris. And I have like this scooter, this microphone, this megaphone. There's a bunch of like distracting things. But then once I was campaigning, I was yelling at people, and I yelled at somebody, and that person was walking with another like person, and I forget what it was. I think it actually was like the sandwich thing. Like somebody was walking with a sandwich, and then they're eating something. It was just one person. And that person has a friend with them who's not eating a sandwich. And I was like, hey, you like that sandwich? You think it tastes good? Well, I'll have you know that it's going to make you fat unless you vote for me. I say something like that. And then that person kind of looked at me, and then, it's kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. This guy's kind of like I don't know, some kind of comedy thing. I don't really understand. So they just kind of laugh and they move on. But then the friend that's walking with that person, like kind of slowed down and like told the friend to slow down and be like, hey, is that Chris? Like, he's actually my student from like the same class that I teach. And then they're like, Chris, is that you? And like I have a completely different personality in real life, right? Because like when I'm teaching, like I'm very serious about it, and I try to do a good job teaching. I try to help people understand stuff. And then sometimes like, like outside of the class or something, if I run into someone, if they have some questions or something like that, like I always try to help. But then like not in penguin time. Okay, penguin time is my time. So then I think I told him like I was like, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You need to go to the health institute and make sure that you're not hallucinating. I don't want to hear that name again. And then I'm just like continuing and stuff. But the guy knows it's me, okay? Because like I don't know, like I don't think there's really anyone else that like looks exactly like me. And then they're just thinking like, what the heck is this guy doing? And then they like, took a video or something and sent it to some friends, and then they walk on. And then so I don't know. I mean nobody ever like came to like my class and was like, hey, you're the penguin. But I think a lot of them like they like kind of whisper stuff, right? So like while I'm teaching or something, someone's like, hey dude, look at this video. I found this video of him like yelling at people or something like that. And it's okay, like I don't mind that. I think it's kind of fun. But in the class what I try to do is I try to make sure that everything's focused. So it's like when people ask me about that, I say, okay, we can talk about that, but only if no one else has any questions about this topic. So does anyone have any questions about this algorithm or that kind of stuff? So it's like very serious. But that was one kind of side effect. Like I have like I don't know, like a kind of a teaching reputation or like a job for teaching. But then I go and do this kind of crazy thing. And the people who see that, they're like, oh, that's a really weird mixture. Like this person's a very serious like teacher, but this person is like a crazy penguin. And it's like, oh, it's the same person. So it was kind of crazy. But yeah, and then so the actual results. Well, of course, like I can't actually win the like election because I was a senior, and like you just can't win if you're a senior because like the next year you're going to graduate. So like I didn't actually win. I didn't actually get any votes. Some people actually tried to vote for me, but due to some registration issues, like I couldn't actually couldn't actually do it. So then that's it for the penguin story. I think yeah, that's basically it. I dressed up as a penguin. I yelled at people a lot. And I did these like kind of messed up improv interviews where I ask people some question as if it's an interview, but then I start like yelling at them and saying like, like, oh, that's wrong. Oh, if you don't have straight A's, then I'll make sure you have straight A's. Vote for me. And then I run away on the scooter and, well, not run away, but I like scoot away. I like go with my one hand scootering. So that was like one of my fun activities from college, like kind of, I guess, a wild activity. I don't know, but definitely it's good to kind of put yourself out there. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do the same thing that I did, but for me, even that's a little bit like I have to spend energy for that. And, I have to buy the megaphone, I have to buy the penguin costume. But, because I like decided, okay, I'm going to try this thing, and then I actually spent some effort trying it, like I thought it was a pretty good experience. And I'm definitely, when I look back on that, I always see that as like a positive story. Like this is something that I wanted to do, and then I did it. And that's what I appreciate myself for. So I think, oh, like it's a really good thing that even though, this is like a little bit mendokusai, it's a little bit troublesome, I still decided that I wanted to do it, and then I did it. So there's like some amount of, I don't know, like self-confidence, or like, oh, at least I can decide to do these things and work hard. And I know that I can work hard. It's kind of silly because I'm talking about this like stupid prank thing and it's not really work, but I did work hard for that. And I had to get better at like talking to strangers about saying like random stuff, talking with the crazy person, stuff like that. But anyways, that's probably a good point to end this podcast. So this is like a kind of a story type podcast, and probably the next couple episodes are also going to be story type podcasts. Those are always pretty fun for me to talk about, and hopefully they're fun for you to listen as well. So again, thanks for listening to Kuli English Podcast. And if you want to subscribe or follow, like that'll help me a little bit, but you don't have to. And I guess we'll see you next time in Kuli English Podcast.